Dear fellow therapists, I bet you have probably seen the article from Propublica. Maybe. I mean, if you're on any of the social media apps or in any of the therapist groups on Facebook or any of the other places, you have likely seen the article from Propublica. And if you haven't, feel free to pause this video and go check it out. Propublica just did an article on why so many therapists are leaving insurance networks and why we're leaving panels and so many of us are going private pay only. And this article, from what I understand, is part one of their I'm not sure how many the series of articles that they're going to be doing on this, but they are essentially, they went and talked to over 500 psychiatrists, psychologists, therapists who all had experiences joining health insurance networks and put them within reach. Essentially, most of us who've ever done an insurance network, I'm on some panels through a company that some of you are familiar with called Headway. And I have mixed feelings about Headway. That's for another video. But most of the time we will get on an insurance panel so that we can serve as many people as we possibly can. And it has a lot to do for most of us therapists about our values of why we became therapists at all. Why we joined the helping fields to begin with was so that we can help as many people as possible. And this article is trying to, which you'll see a few images of the article here throughout this video, just so that you can go searching for it and read it if you haven't. Essentially, most of us, especially since COVID, in the states across the United States have parity laws. So if you are seeing people online now, they should be paying you the same if you were to be seen in person. And I'm sure many of you have gotten messages from different insurances saying, hey, we'll give you a bonus if you go back in person, or we'll pay you more per hour if you go back in person. And yet that rate doesn't cover the cost of an office. But the other thing, that there's so many reasons in this article that they go through about why we have left panels or why we're not joining them at all. Because quite often we are set up to be squeezed out of these panels. And a big reason why is because insurances will make decisions that are not decisions that were made between us and our clients. They will do a lot of different things to try to essentially say that this costs too much. These people that you're seeing cost too much. And so it doesn't behoove them to keep these folks on their insurances or deny coverage or not pay any of those things. And so many of us therapists, there's so many of us who are, if you're in private practice, you might be in a solo practice, you may not be in a group practice, and the billing and how much time that would take to chase down every single payment that was never paid. I can't tell you how many of my friends and colleagues who have said again and again, like, I spent 4 hours on the phone, I spent 3 hours on the phone, to be disconnected and be avoided and to never get payments for work done. Never get those payments at all. And the argument from insurance companies is there's just not enough therapists, when in reality, that's not necessarily the case in every state. That can be the case across the United States, but the reality is if we had access to being able to bill insurance appropriately and it not be such a burden and be able to be paid for services rendered, that we likely would continue to be on these panels. The other thing that they reference in the article, and I've experienced myself, is something called clawbacks. And that is an insurance company can go back years and years and say, oh, we're no longer covering this. Even though the service has already been done, the client might even be done with therapy, and then take that money out of your bank account. I have had friends, I've had colleagues have luckily when I experienced a clawback, it was not the $10,000, $25,000, $30,000 that I've heard from friends and colleagues, but it was enough that it definitely hurt for a few months. And it's like, this is the consequences for every person involved other than the insurance companies is devastating. It's devastating for us therapists. It's devastating for our businesses. It's devastating for the people who work in our businesses. If we have another employee at all, it's devastating to the clients too. Because quite often, if a client loses their employment, they lose their insurance company and their insurances. And then they also then lose access to therapy because they can't afford our private pay. And even if we offer a scholarship rate, if you have no income coming in, of course you can't pay for therapy. One of the people referenced in the article, Melissa Todd, talked about having an insurance company actually interfere with the treatment planning, and had tried to advocate again and again and again with the insurance company, and essentially that insurance company pressured not only the client but pressured the therapist as well to try to get the client to believe that they didn't really need mental health therapy, and that the therapist was overstating the need when that client had experienced a massive trauma in their life. Again and again, these stories, there's just so many people in this article that can talk about the absolute, it absolutely interferes with your professional life, and it interferes with our clients' lives in huge, enormous ways. There are insurance panels that I am on still that I have asked again and again and again. And one of them in particular, I know many of us are on, Lyra, I have been with that insurance for 9 years. And in those 9 years, every year, I have asked them to raise my fee for billing. And every year, they deny me. I have gone and asked for anything as low as $1 an hour to $5 to $10 to get it to be raised to even close to my regular rate. There's so many of us that have these stories. There's so many of our clients that have these stories, that these insurance companies absolutely are practicing mental health care without a license. And I just know that we are all so exhausted by this. And so I've seen so many people post this article. I reposted this article on my own social media, and I just decided, I was like, I'm going to do a video about this, because I think we can all as a field come together and say, you know what? No, we're not going to do this anymore. We do have access to our professional organizations. We can impress upon them the importance of actually lobbying for us. We can do those things. I don't think we're powerless here. I also think that we can be creative in how we do and organize our practices. I think that is definitely worth individual conversations, because every single one of us our situations are different. Our situations and what we need financially is different. Like for me, I'll just give my example. I'll go first. I have an individual rate. My individual rate is $175, and for 90 minutes, regardless of whether it's a couple or what have you, it's $200. And for group rates, because I do a group that is for assigned female at birth people with ADHD and or autism, and I charge $40 per group. So essentially a copay. And I do that all cash pay, because it doesn't make sense for me to put in the effort to bill those things to insurance. Now, there are still insurances like I take that I take them because I've had a long-standing relationship with those insurances, and I'm on the fence about staying on them. I go back and forth, and that back and forth about staying on those panels is about my clients. It has nothing to do with the insurances themselves, because if I had it my way, I wouldn't do it at all. I would not participate at all. The only reason why I haven't gotten off of some of them is really truly because of my clients. And I would imagine the answer is similar for all of you. So I would love to hear from you. I would love to hear from you if you read the article. I'd love to hear if you actually have had experiences with insurance companies, which I bet so many of you have. Yeah. What are you thinking? How you doing? It is Friday. I think, yeah, I gotta go do my notes. Ugh.